You're listening to Puma Podcast.
Hi, I'm Franco Luna Puma Podcast. You're listening to Teka Teka News, balitang thinking, hindi breaking. In this episode,
Piliin siguro sir yung nilalaro nila. Masyado namang bayolente yun. Sipin mo namamaril ka ng pulis.
should video games be regulated? Let's discuss.
Wag naman lahat ganun na lang. Dapat matuto din sila sa homework nila at hygiene. Medyo wag naman yung kalimutan maligo, mag-toothbrush, yung mga mga anak, nako. Hindi pa mahuan yan. Manggaling nga kayo mag-gaming, umahu ka naman.
That was Senator Robin Padilla. He was leading the Senate hearing on a bill proposing government regulations on video games. Senate Bill 1063, or the Video and Online Games and Outdoor Media Regulation Act, wants to curb video game consumption in the Philippines and solve the problem of video game addiction. Now, the bill also gives the MTRCB the mandate of screening and reviewing all video games and outdoor media on top of movies and TV shows. Here's MTRCB Chairperson Lala Soto Antonio.
Hindi po namin mabilang. Dahil
Ganun kadami?
araw po may complaint po kaming nare-receive with regard to materials that are streamed online and nakikita po sa mga user-generated content. Talagang kapag ang kabataan ay may nakikita, talagang malaki ang tendency na sila ay gumaya o pumaris sa kanilang mga napapanood.
In short, yes, that affects Twitch and TikTok as much as it affects Fortnite and Elden Ring if the law passes. All in the name of weeding out content that's quote-unquote unfit for consumption. But what does that even mean? Let me bring in James Lo. He's CEO of game developer Tactile Studios and president of the Game Developers Association of the Philippines, or GDAP. James has a problem with that phrase.
At the end of the day, I mean, what are we trying to do ba, diba, when it comes to rating systems? The objective here is so that people are aware that if they're watching a movie or if they're playing the game, it is then fit for a specific type of age bracket or persona or target market. I don't understand why there's like abhorrent reaction to this sort of experience in games, right? So at the end of the day, the person playing the game has a choice on whether or not I want to play this type of game or not. And not everyone wants this type of game, so it's their choice.
James goes so far as to argue that the contempt for violent video games is misplaced.
Over the course of history, games in general have been used as a scapegoat when it comes to explaining why certain violent acts happen. And to be frank, there are so many other stimulus for violence, and it's not just games. And it's not essentially games. I don't know any person who, in his childhood, would play with the concept of cops and robbers or playing with guns, water guns or whatever. It's innate in our culture. Our children see a lot of stimulants in terms of violence outside of games.
The GDAP also says if we want to keep consumers safe from unsavory content, or if we want to stop kids from getting addicted to gaming, then that should start at home.
Addiction, and violence even. It's all about the home. One of the ways to address addiction or violence is all at home, right? It's a parent's job to manage and teach their kids on how to react to certain things, right? It's the parents' programming. I think the responsibility should be brought back to the parents. So many times have we seen parents and they go outside and what they do is they give a child an iPad, right? And then there's no communication, there's no engagement. It's just the child is basically alone in his world with a tablet, with a device.
In a study, consulting firm YCP Solidians found that gaming in the Philippines has been steadily rising in popularity over the last decade. As of 2021, there are more than 43 million active gamers in the country. Esports analytics provider Newzoo says the $572 million the country spent on games in 2019 made us the world's 25th biggest market in game revenues. We're pausing for a quick break now. When we return, more on what kind of support our local developers need.
Meron nilaro yung isa sa mahal ko sa buhay dati, binatukan ko talaga eh. Nanonood ako eh. Nagulat ako, nananagasa ng tao. Nangangarnap, tapos namamaril ng pulis, tapos pag sinagasaan may score.
Didn't the center's description sound a lot like Grand Theft Auto? That's rated M for mature, which means only teens 17 and up should be playing it. Right now, the Philippines follows the classifications of the Entertainment Software Rating Board, or the ESRB. Online games also follow the global rating set by the International Age Rating Coalition. Platforms like the Apple Store and Google Play Store also have their own rating systems for mobile games. Ultimately, James Law of the Game Developers Association of the Philippines says if that system isn't broken, then don't fix it.
These rating systems have been practiced for years, and it works for many, if not all, countries. It doesn't make sense to create another one because the already existing system is already working and practiced by everyone. When releasing games, these games won't even be available on the stores if those rating systems were not followed, if the standards were not followed.
James says the push for increased regulation is also coming at a bad time.
Historically, the game development industry has been very, very focused on vendor work, meaning outsourced services. So the Philippines is very, very known for creating fantastic art assets for games that you can actually pay on consoles. And yes, a number of international clients actually go to the Philippine studios to create the games, programming, art, and so on for them. We're known for that. We build games for other people.
It's worth mentioning that the Philippines bagged 2 golds and 2 silvers in the esports category at the last SEA Games. Those were for their performances in Crossfire and League of Legends, which are actually foreign made.
What has been difficult for our local studios is to actually create our own content, original content that we can actually share and release out into the world. So this means it is our own concept. We can infuse our own culture. We can design our own gameplay. It is according to our preferences, our thinking. We've had difficulty in that regard in terms of creating original content over the years, but there's a big push for that more now. More and more people, more and more studios are capable of releasing their own games independently. And the challenge now is actually getting it there, and getting it to the market, and actually earning something from it.
And that's why the GDAP says the industry needs more support now than ever.
More companies around the world, they understand that they can hire people directly from different countries. It's very dangerous for the industry because the talent is going out of the country, bottom line. Even if they don't go out of the country, they stay at home, they get paid in more. But the thing is, the talent is actually used in other countries versus us actually coming up with projects that are homegrown.
James says the government here has just one incubator program for local developers. I asked him, could it eventually spur piracy too?
Yeah, absolutely. Even now with those regulations, we get hit by piracy already, right? And it's a chunk of the percentage of your revenue. So, and if anything is actually going to push that further, then it's just going to affect the industry more. Some games that are maybe target a specific type of market will just sell these games online on their own, and then people can then just that specific user or demographic who would prefer that game would then just get it from alternative sources. At the end of the day, people still get the content, and we just wasted effort.
Much to Senator Padilla's chagrin, even the MTRCB says it can't take on the responsibility of rating video games.
Inaamin po namin, hindi po kakayanin ng MTRCB kung isasama pa po ang video games. Una sa lahat, ang sinasabing rating ay akma lamang sa ibang bansa. Hindi ibig sabihin angkop na rin po yan sa Pilipinas. Dahil iba naman po ang Filipino family values na dito sa atin. Pangalawa po, in order for the board members to rate just one game, they have to play the whole game. At ilang oras po ang i-google nila para lang makapaglaro ng game. Wala pa po yung dapat nilang pagtuunan ng pansin. Yun po yung magiging problema doon.
In the meantime, even streaming sites like Netflix are seeing the same pushback from lawmakers. Last week, Padilla also filed the MTRCB Act of 2023 that will give the agency authority to go after online materials that express, quote, hatred that constitutes incitement to discrimination, hostility, violence, or stereotyping or prejudice against the Filipino people, end quote. James says local creatives, including game developers, have one question for senators. Why not support us instead of limiting us?
It's not just limiting what we see in terms of safe or protecting some player that should be protected by the parent anyway, but it's more like, as an industry, what do we see? What do we easily find and review ourselves so that we say, oh, you know what, this game is fantastic. Maybe we can innovate further and make it turn it into something better. And then all of a sudden we make a hit game or something. It's very, very redundant what they're trying to do because there are already regulations out there. If you are an artist and you want to express yourself and there are regulations that actually hamper you, then what you do is you have two options. Either you go to places where there are no regulations, that has more freedom, and just basically have your market or your audience find you. That you're still able to express yourself. But if you want to express yourself in more, I guess, popular markets or popular platforms, then you have to play by the rules. The creative can go anywhere. So if you want more creators in the Philippines, I guess it makes sense to nurture them versus hamper them.
And that was today's episode of Teka Teka News. Again, I'm Franco Luna. This episode was edited by Pidoy Blanco. If you like this episode, share it with a friend or two. And of course, don't forget to follow Teka Teka News and Puma Podcast on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. Thanks for listening.